So, my computer security research project is going to be over the Morse worm. I am hoping I pronounced that a little bit right. I have a little bit dyslexia and I always do it, but I've known this little bit of tidbits of information about this virus just because it's more well known in the computer science community and stuff. And I just really enjoy on how in the heck this guy even accomplishes stuff. But so for this presentation, we had a choice to either do a video presentation or a paper. I chose the video just because I have dyslexia and it makes it a lot more difficult to write a paper. And I also really like making videos and stuff, so I decided to do this. I know it's a little bit old-fashioned using a slideshow presentation, but it's still pretty good. So what is the Morse worm? So basically the Morse worm was a targeted attempt on a certain type of computer, more so to test a security thing and show, hey, this is a weakness in here. So it was non-malicious, as you can see at the bottom, but it started at November 2nd, 1988 at 8:30 p.m. or around this. So basically what it did is it slowed down computers to the point on where they wouldn't really function as well. And back in 1988, it isn't what people were thinking of computers. They're big, giant, huge university computers that could take up rooms. Some of them were smaller, but nothing like nowadays where there's a lot of processing. Most of this stuff was actually stored on a floppy disk and is now in the History Museum. But for the most part, this virus targeted specific versions of the Unix operating systems, which means it was supposed to basically show the weakness and how to prevent and stuff with that. So this guy was the guy who invented it or coded it or whatever you want to call it. So he's a Cornell University graduate student named Robert Tapan Morris, hence the name the Morris worm. And where did it happen? So this map is just for aesthetics. It has nothing to do with it. So technically it came from different places because of remote in, but originally it came from Cornell. He launched it from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in a computer over there, and it was basically a show that they were vulnerable in certain areas, but it ended up spiraling out of control, so he made it so it's undetectable to more prove a point, and he actually made it a little bit more too undetectable. So it ended up spreading to universities, military sites, medical research laboratories, stuff like that. That's basically connected for what the internet was back then, where it was basically just used for universities, military sites, and research stuff. So there was a lot. Even under that list, there was NASA and a lot of sort of stuff, like anything military, basically. So how did it work? So it worked by using a send mail program, which is where the vulnerability was at. It's debugger, and inside of it, there's this finger program that points to, hence the name finger, identifies network's user, so points at the network's users, say you are you, and so on. So with that, the virus ended up waiting for the other systems to attach and then go to that system. So it was so hidden that he couldn't basically stop what he was started. So that's why it went way out of control, and it was mainly supposed to be a small scale thing, but it ended up being almost large scale to the point where it almost took out the entire internet. So this is also known as a backdoor technique. So he found a backdoor, found his way in, and then it ended up finding its own backdoors and finding its own way back in, which is pretty ironic. So with this, I learned that it is barely similar to the class assignments, except most of the assignments we do over class are usually user caused or have like a weak person that you can target and accidentally do malicious deeds. And with this, we also learned that there is, if you find a weakness, you can exploit it. At the same time, don't do that for malicious purposes. Try and do it to improve more your security studies and stuff like that on where are certain little areas you can overlook and say, hey, this could allow someone in, take all our stuff, do basically what what's happening at the university where someone broke into the networks or something. Don't know too much of the details on it, but now, like I said, I'm not even at college right now. I'm back at home where I actually have Wi-Fi to do this presentation. So a potential project that I could do to basically mimic this would be find a way to slow down a computer. So, okay, what is happening? Why is it replicating itself and opening like crazy? Why isn't it stopping? What? Stop. So this is a little joke that I was adding into my presentation. More just designed with slides. So I'll go back to the slides. So basically, you can find a way to slow down a computer. The whole point of that last previous thing was you could also use programs to boot multiple windows. Like, I don't know, more average users know this, where if you open up a ton of programs, it slows down your computer a lot and could make it potentially unusable. So you could do this by doing a loop, open a program in the window, and then run this. And to take a step even further, you can even run the same program within that loop, which causes a lot of replicating stuff to happen and can potentially slow down your computer quite a bit. Some larger computers might be able to more handle this a little bit more. There's possibly security measures built within the computers rather than the programs themselves. And at the same time, there could also be programs that prevent mass openings of one thing. Like when you open up multiple programs at the same time on Windows, usually it starts flashing red at the bottom saying you're opening multiple windows at the same time. So there could potentially be some security loopholes with this. I mean, you can also create a program that potentially loops and uses a lot of processing data and could potentially crash it. You could also keep this inside a Python package, potentially make the Python package more usable, and then have it timed to where it will actually crash computers over a certain amount of time, which could cause a lot of chaos. Not to say that you should do that, but that's more potentiality with this type of methods. And then here's a little bit more of the websites that I got the information from. More the FBI, who basically had to look over all this stuff. The Crime Museum, which is where the actual, what do you call it, floppy disk drive that this was located on is actually still there. And then MIT on where the attack took place at. So they have a lot of like studying and stuff on this. So yeah, it was pretty neat and more famously known. So hopefully that we can actually get through our low security breach and not end up as bad as this was.